Hello, 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 Speed Gaming 5. Good evening. It is week 4 of the league. It is, I'm just going to speak for everybody right now. It is my favorite week. It is the favorite week of league. Absolute crowd favorite, absolute runner favorite, and pilot favorite. We have spoiler log key sanity pilot week. It's super high intensity, super fast paced, super fun and stressful for the runners and the pilots, and just really great all around. I'm in the name of DT, joined along with a good buddy of mine, Dihan, along with Arterral tracking. And since this is also a key sanity mode, Arterral's going to be quite busy, but Arterral does this pretty much for a living, right? So not a problem at all. Dihan, good evening. Hope you're ready for a good race.
Good evening, DJ, and definitely on the side of loving spoilers, especially with key sanity. Just seeing those runners juggle all those keys, figuring out what they actually need to get things done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Traditional spoiler log races, you might have a little bit of time prior to actually running it to look through the spoiler log a bit, but with this, it's a little bit different. We have Magnificent and Salty Fry, along with one of their own teammates that will be reading the spoiler log. The runners do not have access to the spoiler logs in this, and the pilots will be guiding them through all of this. They will be telling them where to go. They can have conversations about it and just try to piece together the puzzle. So who knows what we're gonna see? A lot of different things could happen with this mode. They're generally pretty quick seeds. You can have seeds as quick as 50 minutes or so in some cases. And other times, even with the spoiler log and somebody guiding you, an hour and 10 minutes isn't unheard of. Really, for the pilot and the runner, you can have an absolute best case scenario. You can have a speed gaming chat, absolute fantasy, or anything in between. So who knows what we're gonna get?
Yeah, and we're off to a start. And as you can see from the text, you got NewSwagaJackson with wall kicks piloting Magnificent, and then over here Waffle House Drive-Thru, we have the Demolisher piloting Salty Fry.
Mm-hmm. So 2 races per week, per team, of course. And kind of switching it up as you go with the spoiler week. I know, like in some cases, you could have one runner. You could have the same 2 people participate for both races, and then just flip flop between the 2. But it's interesting too because there's so many different routes that you could take to start one of these. Because if you just start rushing into stuff, you like go to Kakariko right away. Your pilot might not have had the time to like look everything over properly and make sure that you're opening the most efficient things. So like we got Team NewSwagaJackson on our left, starting with Houlihan, getting some money. Most seeds require some sort of spending, but I like the Houlihan route personally because it actually gives you a little bit of extra time as the pilot to look some things up and see what's where.
Yeah, not to sound too biased, but I've watched you and Willard do that debate a lot on keeping that into your route or not. And for a lot of time, it does seem like people who do the Houlihan get more of a chance to think and get that early plan going on.
Sometimes you have to wonder if it's really the most efficient because, yeah, like you do get those seeds every now and then where you don't actually need to buy anything. And then it's like, well, great, I just wasted 30 seconds, a minute or so. Magnificent actually got a bomb drop off of the blue guard, and that was pretty handy, trying to farm the bushes there for the 50-50 drops. But the guard dropping one is just as good. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, early bombs opens up a lot of Kakariko, and like not having to go and waste your 50 gold that could be for the vendor is crucial.
Right, and that's always the struggle here. Like, do I need to go to the top of the well? Do I need to go to the top of Blind's hut? Do I need Chicken House? Do I need the race game? So like, there's a lot that you could need bombs for within Kakariko, and in this case, we saw Salty Fry head to the top of the well, and we see Magnificent going straight there, walking right by Chicken Hut and the bottle vendor. So presumably nothing there. So a lot of things for the pilot to be constantly aware of when searching the log in these early minutes. Like, there's certain locations that you want to rule out right away. You want to know whether or not you need pedestal and then plan for that. You want to know whether or not you need the lumberjack tree as another spot. With needing the 2 small keys for Agate Tower, this isn't week 2 of the league, of course, so we don't have those vanilla small keys. It's really easy to overlook things as the pilot.
Yeah, the big thing
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, to go along with what you're saying, like the big thing I see a lot of people struggle with is pod keys. Like, do I need 3? Do I need 4?
Pod keys are tough. There's times where you can just go right to Helma, like take a bow, go right side, and you only need the 1 key at that point. There's times where pod is just as convoluted as the normal key logic in itself. Small key for desert and hammer in the back of escape, those are really nice. We don't know if we're gonna need that small key for desert. There's situations where you can, you like tell your runner, hey, just pick this up. We might need it. I haven't had a chance to check yet. It's right there.
It's always good to play safe.
Right. It's kind of an interesting situation though, because if you go through, and this is absolutely me, like looking at this under a microscope. I've done quite a few of these myself. But like, you have to also consider, as close as some of these races are, like generally they finish in a closer time frame than like more traditional race formats, right? So you have to also think, like, if you go through Paradox Cave and you need 1 or 2 things, but your pilot might not have told you like which 2 chests you need, and you open all 5, like that actually does add up quite a bit. So there's just so much to pay attention to in this. But enough about the pilot side of things. Dihan, what sort of things should we be looking out for in the mindset of a runner in a seed like this? What sort of dangers or differences can they expect?
I mean, from a runner's perspective, I guess you're constantly trying to plan your next action, but you're doing it through someone else. So your mind's constantly just having to trust what your pilot's saying, and then you're also trying to come up with your own shortcuts to group all the routing.
Right.
And so you're throwing that back and forth between your pilot. And a lot of that times can, like, if you're not like fully in sync with them, you guys start questioning each other, and then that kind of slows down what's the next thing you pick. So it's just like just trusting what your pilot says and helping them lead you.
And the pressure that you feel as a pilot in these first 10 to 15 minutes is immense. We saw on the left of your screens right there a little bit of indecision about starting at Link's house or the Sanctuary, and that could have easily been a, hey, where do I go? And then your pilot is kind of scrambling for a moment, like, I'm not sure, hold on a second. And like, it's tough. It's really tough to make these decisions as quickly as you need to be competitive in this mode.
And I feel like as a runner, you should always like have a spot to go in your bag while your pilot's trying to figure out your next move. Like, don't throw it on them to make it a decision immediately. Just like, all right, figure it out. I'm going to do this check and come back.
Yeah, communication's super, super critical in this mode. Like, if you can, for instance, if Salty Fry were to head over to Mini Maldorm Cave in a moment, then the pilot can use that as an opportunity to continue scouting the spoiler log while they deal with what's in the cave, and just at least try and plan that next step. As we get to like the 15-20 minute mark, it becomes a lot easier for the pilot to be able to plan things out. And like, once you have all your items kind of written down and you have a rough idea of which order we need to get them, like, we got to find Dark World access, right? And everyone wants to find the boots as early as you can. Obviously something at Magic Bat. Yeah, Salty Fry did not have any magic before, unfortunately. So we'll see what's here.
Yeah, and they're sticking pretty much to the same routes beyond some like small drop changes. So it's quite interesting with the spoiler shrine. Is it linear, or is it just safe with all these checks at first and then it's going to deviate?
Yeah, and every single decision that you make is going to have some sort of an impact. If you hesitate on something, or if you do change up your routing, there's a lot of like little efficiencies that actually can become a very big deal. We saw a fire rod right on Highway Island there. That's nice. So flippers, of course, required for something. but not for that fire rod at the moment. We will have to come back for that later on with some other stuff.
Yeah, hopefully it's just a quick pickup of the flippers in the mirror and get that fire rod and off you go.
Lamp is actually something you really want to be able to route in with this. We can get sword placements that are just less than ideal, and because you're skipping a lot of chests in this, you're not full clearing much. It's not uncommon to see these races finish with Master Sword. So of course, Torch Glitch much more difficult if you don't have silver arrows, with the fire rod over the lamp. And yeah, sometimes that lamp is just not in a position where it cooperates, so you can wind up with some rough stuff. But that's another thing that the runners for this mode need to always have in their minds is how to execute effectively and quickly, but still safely. Because this is going to be generally very, very low percent for the runner. I've seen plenty of these races where the runners are going up GT with only 5 or 6 hearts and maybe blue mail, maybe powder if they're lucky. It's a difficult mode. It's very intense. It's a ton of fun, but it is tough.
Yeah, it's definitely up, and that's what kind of makes it extra exciting. You know, you're going to see a lot of low percent. You're going to really see people test their skill levels, on not only like with hearts, but like what they know on logic skips, and see if they can completely skip safeties. Because it's looking over here that Salty Fry is like, I don't need the lamp. I got the dark rooms, and like that could save you a lot of time, or you can lose a lot of time if you actually can't do those dark rooms fast enough.
Right. Yeah, no, there's a lot to consider with that. A lot of things, I guess, from playing just like standard or open mode or casual boots is something that we take for granted if you try these out for the first time or so.
Yeah.
But yeah. Interesting to see very similar routes right now. Sorry, we're like kind of talking on each other at the moment. But yeah, like following similar routes right now. Could be purely coincidental. It seems like this is kind of where we need to go. Like, we just got Dark World access. So yeah, I mean, really the big thing with Dark World access is, do we start from Hype Cave or do we start from Village of Outcasts? And apparently there's something more in this area that is worth their while.
Yeah, hearts. So far.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Small key for ice could be just a very convenient thing. We see Magnificent actually walking right by it. Could just speed up the dungeon. It's never really necessary. And there's our mitts and the pinball.
And like you said, there's always going to be sometimes people just out of habit open chests as they walk by them.
Yeah, I mean, that's very possible too. I don't personally know playstyles of either of these teams for a mode like this. I'm just here for the ride, and it's going to be a fun one. These are fun matches to watch.
They definitely are. And like the other interesting thing that spoilers bring is that their pilots can watch the other runners stream.
Oh yeah. And
so,
yeah, like, I mean, what sort of implications could that have in terms of the pressure that the pilot might feel? Like,
yeah, like I guess it could also be like part of the reason why everyone's following each other, as like, all right, we could have gone another way, but it looks like the other team's going this way, so maybe that was a safer bet. So you could start questioning yourself on like, should I take this different route, or should I just play safe and kind of follow my opponent until I see something clear? And that's usually the only clear way to like change or deviate from each other, is like who can do what at a lower percent or with less items.
Personally, I think that could be something that comes into play more later on in the seed. Like, as a pilot for this, you really don't have a lot of time to focus on much of anything except for your notepad document or your Google sheet that has all of the information on it. This is actually really interesting that we actually do have I would call this a divergence at this point. We see Salty Fry that had gone right by this hook shot at Hammer Pegs, in favor of taking the blacksmith. So, to take the blacksmith home, then you're in the light world, and unless there's something on purple chest, it kind of makes me curious right away when Salty Fry might head back for that hook shot. And I guess that's all that we're getting out of Hype Cave is a pod small.
Yeah, with Swamp being appended, I'm guessing he doesn't think he needs the hook shot until end game, so he doesn't do Moldrum bounce.
I mean, who knows? I mean, in all seriousness, like there are corners like that that can be cut in this kind of a mode. That is absolutely a thing that some runners would do if they feel that it's within their skill. But we're gonna have dual blacksmith turn-ins in a moment. See what's there.
Yeah, what was so important to skip hook shot?
Yeah, I mean it's really easy as the pilot to overlook certain things too. Like if you've got your mindset on like one or two things, like if you search for the boots and you find that they're in the middle of a dungeon somewhere, you might make note that okay, the boots are there, but you might not see what's in the check above or below that in the dungeon, if that makes sense, right? So it's easy to overlook things if you're focused on looking for specific items at the moment instead of seeing like the general area.
I can only assume that when you're piloting Willard, you just have to find the boots, or he won't listen to anything else.
No, I made him open two things today that he didn't want to, and I laughed about it, so he listens. It's fine.
But yeah, you're correct. It's like it comes back to communication. Like, you got to give each other room to breathe. You got to find things to help you guys give that room to breathe, and just like have something in your backup to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't happen where they just start glancing around for key items, to where they might miss something small, like an important key, or not even look for hearts, and then someone's like screaming, "I'm on 3 hearts. Where are all the hearts?" And you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's important too."
Yeah, maybe we can route in a heart container or two, but then you find that they're all in like rando room or the back of pendant pod that you're not going to or something.
But yeah, it looks like they needed to do that blacksmith stuff to just open up purple chests, and so he knew he was coming back and grabbed the hook shot.
Yeah, and in that case, then what we're seeing all makes perfect sense. Then, like that all ties together. But it was a question from him. Like, there's got to be something on purple chest because that would explain this routing, right? Magnificent's going to walk down a bit though. I wonder if maybe going for that same pod small. Does seem like a little bit of a long walk just for that, but pod smalls are extremely important. It's a very, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe other people don't have this issue, but it's kind of tough looking at the log to determine, like, you know exactly which items you need in the dungeon, but it can be tough to determine exactly how many keys you need to get there. So now that we see the mirror on purple chest, we realize that this is just not going to work for Magnificent. They're going to have to save and quit.
Dang. But yeah, with me, with pod, I still can't do that bomb jump, so I pretty much need 3 keys minimum to do pod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a super important bomb jump in key sanity modes more than any other. So I'm guessing now it's mountain time.
Yeah, and I'm wondering,
technically out of logic? Well, no, we have flippers and lamp. Did Saltyfire not get the lamp?
No, Saltyfire chose not to get the lamp, so I'm assuming he just is that good at dark rooms because he went right by it.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought I saw them in there because I thought the small key was obtained.
Unless it was one of those accidental, like you said, the pilot didn't see it in time. It was looking already in the next step.
It's very possible. Well, now I would say that we have some route divergence, unless again this is just for the pod small.
Yeah, he's going to Hype Cave.
I wonder if we'll see anything deeper than just the NPC, or if it is just going to be pod small and bail. Although we've got the mirror, so yeah, Fire Rod's actually pretty accessible now. On the Hylia Island.
Yeah, and they could grab lamp real quick, doing that scoop up.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a possibility. Okay.
Yeah, old man is the one dark room I can do at my skill level. Just push to the right
I'm gonna be that guy right here, Dihan, and I'm gonna say 2 dark rooms that you can do.
All right. Yep, it is 2 technically, 2 rooms.
It is not 1. So yeah, fire rod pickup on the left here, and some mountain travel on the right. Oh, that little pink ball got punted. Always amusing to see.
Yeah, and then they become buddies.
So we're gonna head into Tower of Hera without any keys, and it's a pendant.
But you got your Hera pot, so you don't need keys.
Exactly, and there's a bow. That's actually not a bad spot for a bow, considering that we've had the logical Death Mountain access.
And there's nothing in Hera, so you don't need to do anything with keys.
I guess nothing else, yeah. That's always nice. Having a little bit of trouble with that dead rock. Just kind of like gets inside of you.
I've always debated, is it better just to let it punch you in the face, take the heart damage, and move on, or knocking him out?
If you can knock it out, I would say knock it out, because there's times it'll run right toward you and like stop right where you're standing, and like you can't move. So
Or
they're
kill
tricky.
you right there?
Or kill you right there. There's a lot of very good reasons that runners of this game, both in vanilla and the randomizer, dead rocks are not a favorite. They're annoying.
No, luckily you already had the mountain save, so it's just a 40-second loss. I'm still not good at that.
It's tough to say. Definitely not a huge loss, all things considered, but that's part of the danger with spoiler log is having low hearts, and I mean everything on this mountain is doing a full heart of damage to you at this point. So looks like we've got mirror, so we might see paradox, but a lot of items here, a lot to pick and choose from. So let's see exactly what we get. You know, one of the other fun things about the spoiler log mode is I don't notice it as much like sitting back and watching right now, but if I'm either playing it or piloting, participating in some way, I am absolutely amazed at like how full the inventory is, and then I look at the timer and I see it's only at like 20 minutes. Or you have like a crystal or two and you're on your way to a couple more and it's only at like the 25-30 minute mark. Like these things feel very, very fast. Whether you're the pilot or the runner. It's just part of that rush. So I guess that's all that we're getting out of Paradox.
Yeah, it seems like by the time you're taking your second breath, you're entering GT sometimes with these.
Yeah, no, like that's not an exaggeration. They do feel like they go very, very quickly when you're playing in one.
Nobody's liking the dead rocks right now.
Oh no. Some things don't change. The things you're wondering as a runner, or I guess more so at this point, you might have this answer as a runner by this point, even if it's ways off. You're wondering, as a viewer, I guess, where are we going to get swords? Where are we going to get boots? Are we going to get boots? It's possible we won't.
Yeah, as we discussed, like we didn't actually look at the spoiler ourselves to be surprised, and it is interesting. Like I get the same excitement as a viewer. Like I don't know, but I get to talk about it with a buddy.
Oh, I enjoy just watching this race unfold as it's going to. Apparently, there's one thing in Hookshot Cave worth grabbing.
I've never seen that route in Hookshot.
No, I haven't either. That was really interesting. Very not traditional. But I liked it. It was just like straight across.
And you see on the left side, it looks like what's key is like when you're talking in a room full of chests, like getting the exact one, because you look like you grab bombs first on accident.
Right. I mean, yeah, especially in a room that large, it does turn into seconds, and that's something that if a certain team running one of these, if that becomes a habit in like every single room that has multiple chests like that, it really does add up. It becomes a pretty substantial amount of time.
As like a runner and a pilot, and have you synced up on every chest? Do you use the same lingo as the spoiler log, or have you your own lingo that you guys decided on?
It's I mean, something like that's going to be different from every single team. I know, like, if you like, I've played a bit of cross keys. Like, I've got my own names for certain locations or certain things that somebody else might not have. So that's definitely part of the communication when it comes to practicing these with your teammate. Is just making sure that you are calling the same things the same thing, or that you at the very least know what the other is referring to.
Yeah, I'm sure over the years of these players, which I think most of them have been, the runner's been playing for at least 4 years. There's been a million names, the same thing.
Hmm. I mean, like, I remember before K45 was called K45 because apparently that's what it's called in the code. K45 was South of Grove or Circle of Bushes. Like, I had a couple of different names that were used interchangeably, but ever since 45 came along, everybody's just called it 45.
Those definitely sound like progressive rock band names. South of Grove.
They do.
Circle
It's not a
of
bad
Bushes.
thing. That's not a bad thing. So yeah, we've made the dip into Tower of Hera. We saw a bow and a blue male was upstairs. Honestly, that's just a quick Hera pod away for an incredibly valuable safety in a mode like this.
And yeah, now we are on some true divergence at this point. Different items, different routes. So I'm wanting to see like where this all ends up now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm wondering if Magnificent might be heading over to Graveyard Ledge, like we just saw Salty Fry leave. Salty Fry going to Hobo. Now, I forgot what was here, but I know that Magnificent did this pretty much immediately after getting Flippers, just made that part of the early Flipper Zora route. Ah, Lamp was here, that's right.
Yeah, he's grabbing Lamp and then Fire Rod. And it's...
You know, I suppose, and like, you compare it between what we've seen from both runners on when they got it, like, which one's more efficient? And honestly, don't answer that. There's not really an answer to it. I mean, there is, but when you're routing these things as quickly as the pilot needs to with their runner, you don't really have the time to think about the depth of every decision that you're making. Sometimes you just gotta make a decision like, oh, hey, Lamp's at Hobo. And it's like, okay, yeah, let's go get it now. We have Flippers. You don't really consider, oh, I might get Mirror later on, and it could be more convenient with that. Like, sometimes you just have to go for it.
Yeah, with anything with like a time competitions, like a lot of stuff has to just become muscle memory or whatever comes to your first thought. Overthinking can really cause you to lose more time than actually creating a plan.
I like to think that, like, by the time you climb in GT, like, there's always some hindsight. There's always, okay, we could have done this a little bit better, we could have done that a little bit better, but the next time you do one of these seeds, you're not going to have that situation. So you try to keep it as efficient as possible, and I mean, the reality is, you're doing a mode like this, you need to just accept that, you know, it's not going to be a perfect route. You just make the best of the situation that you have, and just keep looking at what you need. And I think these runners have been doing a really good job doing that as we're kind of approaching the 30-minute mark. We're going to see a first dungeon in a moment, first crystal clear.
And interesting enough, they're actually converging again after that slight divergent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, once this really takes hold and we start to see, like, okay, we can make like a solid dungeon train right now, we'll start to really get a better picture of how this could finish up. But I will say this, even more so than a normal traditional race, like, anything could happen in this because of it being low percent. Like, who knows if Salty's going to find another armor upgrade, for instance. And that's an advantage I would consider a pretty big advantage that Magnificent has right now. It could be a factor, it could not be. Who knows? So there's another pod small at Eastern. We got 4 pod smalls now, I believe. That's super comfy. We can absolutely full clear that dungeon if we needed to, but...
And it sounds like they want to do that.
It's possible. I mean, I sure hope not. If every single item in the Palace of Darkness had something that we need, but the point is, we're not going to have any concern getting what we do need out of there.
Yeah, it's always good to not have to do the bow lock side and just go straight through that door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I like that play of coming to Eastern Palace. Even if it's only for that pod small, like that's necessary. That's a good heads up.
Yeah, with them still picking up money, I wonder if Zora's still in play.
I wonder, yeah. I mean, could have been potion money. We'll see that down the road, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm still not going into Ganon without 2 blue pots, a fairy, and like 15
totally
hearts.
fair. Oh, 15 hearts. It'll be a while before you play this mode then. We'll be lucky if we see 7 or 8 on either side.
Yeah, that's where like I'm always kind of wondering, like when you're playing low percent of like juggling between like, oh, if I just get hit once, it's game over. Like, is it really worth that stress to cut out the extra minute or 2 and hope you never make a mistake, or do you think you should just give yourself a cushion always, unless you know you're a master?
I think for this mode, much more than others, the runner needs to be honest with themselves of what they're capable of, and to not try to push that. Like, every runner has a boundary of what they can do. And, of course, we all have our good days, we all have our bad days. But yeah, for a mode like this, like, that literally should be one of the conversations you have with your pilot during practices. Hey, I feel comfortable with this number of hearts, or these safeties, or, you know what, we can skip that safety. That's actually a really important conversation to have, so that as the pilot, you can be looking for those things to try and cleanly route it in so that you can keep your runner comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the key jobs as the pilot, not only telling them where to go, but like, you know, making sure your runner is still feeling good about themselves. Because like, if they tense up from just one mistake, that'll just cause more mistakes down the road. And then they know there's a pilot sitting there watching them mess up. And so like, you just got to be your best buddy the whole time, thick and thin.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's definitely a mode where if something goes wrong, you've got to just get back on the horse and keep riding on. But there's also that added pressure that, like, a single death somewhere can be a decide. I mean, there's a million things that can always decide any race, but as close of the margins of finish are in these races generally, I mean, we're talking like 2-3 minutes, I would say, on average. Like, that's not a huge margin for error. Like, if things go wrong, if things do feel inefficient, you can't help but wonder, like, where you're at, where you are compared to your opponent. And like, another part of that is, like you mentioned just a little bit ago, Dihan, that the pilots can watch the stream of the opponent. They could be watching this restream with this the rule set for this mode. And that's another conversation to have. Like, as a runner, like, hey, do you want to know where your opponent is? Like, do you want to know how much time you have? Like, do you have time to go buy a potion? Sometimes that can make things worse. Sometimes it's helpful knowledge. So yeah, oh, there's our first sword. And we got an ice rod out of here as well, and the big key for desert. So a lot of stuff in Palace of Darkness. We've been literally all over this dungeon except for right side.
Yeah,
And the flute.
As you said, you know you don't like to see a full pod on a spoiler, but at least it's all in one spot and you quickly get it done, especially if the keys are in easy spots, which it looked like it wasn't too hard to route in.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that you just mentioned about the keys for this dungeon. We're here at the 30-minute mark and getting everything that we need and not needing to come back. Like, spoiler log seeds feel like they're notorious for being, like, almost Plando-like in nature. And I'm not saying that they are. I know that they're not. But, like, you could have to go into... I've had them where you have to go into, like, Palace of Darkness, for instance, to get something to go deep into TR to get, like, the pod big or something to come back here. It's like... They honestly are, like, nightmare seeds at times. Key Sanity facilitates that a bit. Like, Fire Rod on Laser Bridge comes up pretty frequently, because you don't need Fire Rod to get small keys from right side, like you normally would. There's just a lot of variance, a lot of options, and Key Sanity is really the blame for that.
Yeah, once you start putting those keys everywhere, everything's in play.
Pretty much. can be a good old time for everyone to watch and hang out with. Cat pointing out that Mark glossed over a TR small. Perhaps there's another one available somewhere else, though I would have a hard time imagining it being in a more convenient spot than the dungeon that you're presently in.
Yeah.
As well as the GT big. That is unfortunate, then.
Well,
On the plus side... Go ahead. What's up?
I was gonna say, he's already shown us that he kind of routes it slightly different, especially when he did the lamp and fire rod. So maybe he's got another plan to get them. That's
It's possible.
us.
I'll admit I didn't see everything that happened on the left side of the screen. So I don't know if these were items that were like in the back that Mark is just deciding I'm going to go for Helma now and then come back in for. I would say that's possible. I guess we'll just wait and see. But on the plus side, we've got 2 Helmasaur fights pretty much right at the same time. That's always fun.
Oh, if only it was doing like Helmacopter and it'd be like a Chinook with 2 blades going.
Only in Randomizer and only in Skull Woods, I'm afraid.
Alright, time to set up a plando.
I mean, I don't know if you can do that on the customizer with the like custom boss placements. I'm not sure if that's a thing.
If it isn't, it needs to be.
I mean, there is a suggestions channel in the main ALTTPR Discord just for you.
Alright, that was both clean on both sides. Almost simultaneous finish.
Yeah, good fights all around. Low health, even 6 hearts blue mail, like everything's 7 hearts, I'm sorry. Everything's still going to do a full heart of damage, so you got to be a little bit careful. But yeah, we do see Mark heading back in. Can only speculate about what happened on the communication there. I suppose that makes for good interview material, doesn't it?
Yeah, when at least with sport, like you said, it's so quick that you don't forget things to talk about. And
so looks like the GT big key, and that is it. So no TR small.
Well, now we just gotta wait.
And hopefully we don't need all 4 Turtle Rock smalls then. But yeah, I mean, I'll keep saying it. This mode is tough as the pilot. There's a lot to look at, and you have very little time because, of course, your runner keeps moving. We don't have boots, so that gives the pilot a little bit more time. But it's still just so incredibly fast-paced, and it's tough to keep up with.
Yeah, another factor is like memorization on the runner side too. Like if he forgets, he's gonna ask us, pilot, where is it again? And then pilot's already 6 steps down another path and has to come back. And just figuring out a way to manage something you've already said, because you're probably gonna get asked another time, is key as well.
Yeah, and that's I mean, another point of this is part of that communication dynamic between runner and pilot is knowing what you're like for each role that you're playing right then, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are in that role. That was a small key to Swamp, Dion. Swamp's a pendant. What do you think is in Swamp?
I don't have the experience as you do, but I'm assuming a sword.
Now, I actually, I think it's got to be something else. Because going to Swamp just for a sword, unless swords 3 and 4 are really that buried.
And maybe in GT, but I guess the only thing left I can see is Samaria, or even boots. Yeah. If they really wanted that.
We don't have Canis Samaria. We could need boots. We don't know what's on either torch yet, or Bonk Rocks, King's Tomb. Yeah, Canis Samaria is probably a pretty safe bet. And I'm just purely guessing. I do not have the spoiler log open. I'm enjoying watching this unfold as it does.
Yeah, let's start taking bets right now. Is it Samaria or is it sword? I don't know. Yeah, like I said, not knowing makes this a lot more fun.
Well, I'm glad you're having fun. That's our goal here. That's what we want.
It looks like we're back on track with each other going into Swamp, so it definitely is super important to get now.
Yeah, I mean, any little decision when the runners are a screen or two apart like this, any little decision can have a big impact on the overall result of this. So we'll see. It looks like we don't need whatever's in first chest, the actual first chest, which I think is like usually just chest 0 in people's mind, because this is the one that's always the first chest, right? So there's Ether.
So from seeing both racers, they're getting all 3 medallions. That's interesting. Unless Bombos was an accident.
Yeah, I wonder, because at most we're only going to need 2, right? So, and I don't know which ones. I don't know if. Well, no, because you got the spoiler log. There's no reason to actually go physically take a look at what you need as the entry. So yeah, okay, our tracker is updated. We do need Ether and Quake. It looks like Bombos is not necessary.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they were debating on routing the Fire Rod and trying to do Bombos, Ice Palace, or like you said, just muscle memory and open the chest.
You know, I do not remember where Bombos even was to comment on that. So I'm just going to say they have Bombos and leave it at that. Obviously something else in Swamp, though. Looks like we're going down to the Compass chest. So in terms of items, we need another sword, we need Samaria. Boots would be a nice have, but we don't need them necessarily. So we're getting pretty close on the item realm to being in item go mode. And there's the can of Samaria, and we're out of Swamp Palace.
Yeah, like once we get into go mode and still have like 5 or 6 dungeons, it's kind of just an interesting just to see on execution and like sit back as a commentator and a viewer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean this mode literally becomes a race. More so than the fact that it is a race still. Yeah, no, they're fun. So in terms of keys, looking down at our trackers, looking like we are still going to need the Meyer and TR big keys. And unless I'm mistaken, that could be it. So we might only need a couple of big keys at this point.
Yeah, after they get that sword, it's just a biggie collection, and then beat all the bosses, or all the crystal bosses.
It's almost alarming, like looking at a tracker, and seeing like only 3 or 4 big keys lit up. But then you have like Skull Woods or Ice Palace to clear, where you don't need the big keys for those dungeons to beat them. And that's a good pickup for a heart container. That's a relatively convenient spot for that.
Yeah, you definitely want hearts or belts there.
as a pilot for one of these, you just have to remind yourself, like, no, we don't need those big keys. It's fine that half of them aren't lit up on your tracker. But it can catch you off guard a little bit if you're not actively thinking about it.
Yeah, I think I've seen sometimes people forget the big key and they try to open the big chest because they were in such a hurry. Oh, and this is why I don't compete. It takes me about 20 times to get Icebreaker. Yeah.
That is not bad.
But yeah, he definitely got it much quicker than I would. And it makes an insufferable Ice Palace actually kind of fun to play.
Yeah, it's really changed the dynamic of Ice Palace, and won't necessarily apply in this case, but I would still say to those of you at home that have maybe gotten into the rando after Icebreaker was a thing, you should still know the Ice Palace bomb jump. It could absolutely still save you at times. Like, so we got the boots, and we have one runner that went back to hit the switch, and the other runner that did not. And we do not have a big key. It looks like Salty Fry realized that the switch was not hit, so that would not have been a completable dungeon very easily. Would have had to be more intended, so...
Yeah, and with these...
So...
I was going to say, with these later dungeons that are more complex, it's always hurts to have to mirror to the front, because you have to go through multiple tiles just to get to where you want it to do.
Yeah, and this feels like such a slow dungeon to have to go back through. Even though these first few rooms, it's not the most enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing that happens. Like, I know that when I'm practicing this with Willard, like I will literally yell at him, hit the switch, hit the switch, hit the switch, hit the switch, like over and over again until he hits it, even if he's going to hit it. Just because like it's not something that you want to forget. It's like those mistakes happen, and I annoy the heck out of him like that because we've made that mistake too.
Yeah, well, you gotta be like a bop it. You gotta be like bop it, hit the switch, twist it, hit the switch, pull it, hit the switch.
I don't know if I'll do that. So in terms of, I mean, based on what we know of the spoiler log, and Magnificent has to be a little bit careful here. Cold Stare with Blue Mail will still do 3 hearts of damage. This is a scary fight right now.
Yeah,
considering Fighter Sword and Hammer are your only weapons now.
Yeah, and I've literally stopped running my practice seeds losing the Cold Stare because it's just like, especially if you can't do Icebreaker, like, okay, it's another 3 minutes to get back to this. Yeah. I screwed up.
I mean, in total with Master Sword spins, because you can't do slashes, so Master Sword spins doing, I'm sorry, Fighter Sword spins doing Master slash damage. That's, I believe, 16 spins per puff from full health. And of course, Hammer's just kind of a difficult weapon to use.
Yeah.
So this needs to be slow and steady.
Yeah, and especially since they didn't pick up any bottles, so they've given themselves no safeties after their magic's gone for Fire Rod.
Yeah, how about that? Neither runner has a bottle at this point. I mean, obviously, like, we can assume that means Sick Kid isn't going to have anything, but that also means a lack of safeties. And Powder can be really out of the way. There's still 4 bottles in the item pool, so usually for a spoiler seed, you'll see someone pick up a bottle that's convenient enough, even if only to go and buy a potion with it.
Yeah, it just really tells you that these guys know this game, and they know their limits.
Definitely a cleaner start from Salty Fry's side, despite the switch issue and having to come back through half of Ice Palace.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising. He actually got back to the fight. And how crucial it is to make sure to not get stuck on Fighter Sword spins.
Unfortunately, Magnificent taking a death, and this is a tough death to take, but Cold Stare probably not having an important item. Yeah, just head on out. You don't have the magic right this moment anyway. Not really any extra loss to have to come back here later on with maybe a better sword or something.
Yeah.
I do want to point out, though, very good strategy that Magnificent is using that perhaps some people aren't aware of. Standing at the top of the room, the ice chunks that fall will just kind of poof away. Like, they will not actually break apart or damage you if you were standing at the very top wall. So that was something that Magnificent was making very good use of to try to avoid extra damage and just keep it slow and safe.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see sometimes some failed game logic in this where the ice just sees the wall and there's no code to say break up when you hit me. It just deletes it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a wall versus floor thing or what it is, but aside from that, we do see Salty Fry having the same slow fight. Not having the luxury of the Bombos Medallion, not able to get any extra damage in from Fire Rod. Just a lot of spins here. Down to low enough health that, yeah, you want to spin instead of use the hammer just to stay safe. But pulls it off nicely.
I was going to say that like they were being brave with the hammer until they got hit once, and then.
And I think that's reasonable.
Oh man!
So that was our 4th Turtle Rock Small from Cold Stare. And I really have to wonder now, do we actually need all 4 of them? What's in the lava chest?
They pretty much needed all 4 pods, so I'm assuming they do with T-Rock.
Well, there's an additional 2 for pod that I'm assuming were, let's just say, GT Rando Room. I mean, they can't be, logically, but let's just put them there anyway.
Also where I stash all my money, so it's good.
Yeah, no, that works. No one's ever going there in a spoiler log seed. And what's this? We're gonna enter Misery Mire without the Mire Big. That bird just got frozen and then splashed. That's a new one. I don't think I've ever actually seen that timing before to just drown the bird.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, so we're gonna have to assume the big key's in here somewhere, vanilla or French vanilla. Hopefully French vanilla, because that movie room is not fun to watch.
No, that's true. Although, I mean, like any seed, if it happens to be there, everyone has to do it.
Yeah, I guess it's the best solace that you can. Like, if something's in a terrible spot in the spoiler log, you know your opponent has to do it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are not alone. Chat making an interesting point that perhaps, and we don't know this yet, but perhaps that pod small key, or the TR small key picked up in pod by Salty Fry, would be used to not have to go and steal the Pokey key in Turtle Rock before the lava chest. Which, given the placement of the key, I think would absolutely be faster, and that would be really good heads-up routing if that comes to be.
Now, is that a conversation to have beforehand?
Oh yeah,
Talking about key logic and like, because on the fly,
that is absolutely a thing that can come up. I don't have another example in my mind right this moment, but yeah, no, that's absolutely a thing. And there it was in the lobby. So we are a Turtle Rock big key and a sword away from go mode and being able to finish this.
that would be bad if the second sword is at the end of all this and you have to fight all these with fighter sword.
It very easily could be. Like, that would not surprise me at all. Fortunately, Vitreous and Lanmo are going to be fine with silver arrows. Trinex, anything less than Tempered Sword, you're pretty much using hammer anyway. So, not a big deal at all. And, okay, nope, there's our last big key. So, Misery Mire, the winning dungeon this time, has all the big keys in it.
Well, that's definitely good. We're going to be seeing some quick go modes in the last few dungeons, and hopefully a tight race at the end.
Yeah. So all that really comes to play is where's a sword? Because at this point, I'm starting to think that the TR small key isn't going to be necessary for the lava chest.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm thinking there's probably going to be a sword somewhere else.
Well, they didn't get a sword in Swamp, and they didn't get a sword in Ice Palace, which is usually the go-to people say, so it's probably 2 or 3 swords in GT at this point.
Could be a little bit of a rough arrow situation on the left side of your screens. Only having 9, when Vitreous has, I think it actually is the 9 eyeballs plus the 2 for the big eye. 11 silvers would be your minimum.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a whole lot of bombs to back it up, nor cape and a good sword.
That's not a situation that I envy at all, because you have to actually ask yourself, like, do I just take out all of the little eyeballs right now? Or do I take out 7 of them? Honestly, I think I would try to leave the 2 silvers that I have for the big eyeball.
Setting up spooky. But yeah, I mean, I even watched you and Will like argue about like picking up arrows in GT and like being like, I got it, I know where one drops.
No,
and, like,
I don't
just
listen.
having and that's just like another aspect that comes into key play in these spoilers, is just knowing pot items.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something that can apply to every mode anyway. Just knowing where your resources are in the rooms, like, it could be the most obscure thing, but it might save you.
And like been playing through, it's like you can't learn it. You just have to play these seeds over and over again, and it just sticks in your brain eventually.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So we're gonna have 8 hearts, blue mail. Let's see what Mark chooses to do here.
Some good, clean arrow action.
It looks like Mark is going to try to save those. Oh, going to use one right there anyway. Okay. So I don't know how many spins it is with the fighter sword. I could look it up quickly, but it's way too many. So you're gonna try to use the hammer. The big eyeball bounces in a very strange way. The physics behind this aren't really intuitive, and you can get bopped here way easily without expecting it. But very clean so far. Just keep repeating the same pattern. Equivalent to 16 hammer hits there is all that's necessary. And that was excellent. That was really, really well done.
It feels like Mark has done a lot of swordless or low percent because that was very clean. He knew the exact spot to hit.
It's very possible. Like, those skills translate into this mode very well.
Yeah, I think I've played a few seeds where swords didn't come for like 40 minutes, and that was just like, is this game fun? I don't think it's fun.
That's the question that some of us are still asking ourselves after 5.5 years of playing Rando D-Hun. There is no set answer, I will tell you. But hey, we keep coming back for more, so it can't be that bad.
I think on top of the game, the community really brings me back to watching this and even attempting to play competitively, or even, like I said, commentating. It's two pieces to a good puzzle. Fun game, fun community.
Now, it sounds to me like a two-piece puzzle is one that I could actually complete.
Yeah.
I'll take it. So yeah, Magnificent heading back into Ice Palace. Unfortunately, had that death on Cold Stare. Gonna have to come back in.
Man, we'll get to see how far Fry gets while Magnificent makes up for that death.
So yeah, we're not seeing any route divergences or any deviating from going straight for crystals at this point, so sword locations, which I guess our pilots are
holding him hostage, I'm assuming.
Yes. I don't know why they would do that, but at least nobody's getting a sword in this seed.
Mothia is either super easy for me, or I just want to throw my controller because of these spikes.
Yeah, it really depends on where Moth hangs around in relation to the spikes. Like, hanging out at the top is never fun. If it's down in the middle of the room, though, it's not generally too bad, but again, even that depends on which spikes are actually coming out after you. But cleanly done. Salty Fry picking up crystal number 6. And some bombs, and is going to head up the mountain. Should be a very, very quick Turtle Rock. Having all 4 small keys, the big key already, we're just going to go right through that dungeon.
Yeah, especially if they get to skip roller room. Just boom, boom, you're done. Alright, looks like Fry's final climb.
And Magnificent, I'm so sorry. Giving Cold Stare another shot. Unfortunately, the puffs broke away, could not get the spin to keep them all together. Trying to use that Fire Rod to just get a little bit of quick damage in. Not even enough for another blast, unfortunately. So, once again, we're in the exact same situation as we were before. We have a little bit more health, can survive 1 hit, nice double hit with the hammer. Unfortunately now down to 1 heart. So this is effectively Oko no matter what we do now. Very unfortunately taking another death. No bottles. We do not have a fairy, we do not have a potion.
Yeah.
What can you do?
I mean, I would go get the safeties, but like in this tight situation, I feel like you just gotta breathe. You know, regroup
Yeah, I
and do
mean,
it again.
we don't have a clue where the safeties are. We don't know if they're even accessible. We've had the pilots in chat saying that there's really nothing available for this seed, and that's unfortunately the way that these spoiler log tourneys, not tourneys. There was a spoiler log tourney, and that's how that went too. But that's also how spoiler log week for the league also goes. Like, this is just, it's something that's gonna happen.
Yeah, so it looks like Mark is looking probably for a safety, because I don't know what else he can chase. I guess he's just doing.
Right that moment, that tree that he bonked always drops a full magic. So that was a good heads up right away, just to refill the magic. And then you're in the area, just take out Skull Woods in the process, and then head back to Ice Palace once more and give that a final go.
Yeah, and I've done that. It's like, if you just need a breather, it's best just go defeat another dungeon instead of repeating the same dungeon and making yourself more tilted. Which I do often with Ice Palace. I just give it a shot and then I go do other things, find my blue mail, a few more hearts, and come back.
Yeah, it's a really, like, it almost feels like we're playing an inverted seed with more health for this Cold Stare fight, because you've got Fighter Sword and Hammer, and there's really nothing more that you can do about that. Curious to see what's going to be on the right side of Turtle Rock. Wonder if we're getting a bottle here. Because we have all the keys, we don't need to go this way.
Maybe he likes rollers.
I mean, maybe. That is the room that has the rollers. But in a big race setting, D-Hound, would you go there just to see the rollers?
No.
Probably not.
Well,
okay,
yeah.
Bottle with green goo. It's something. It's at this point you take anything.
And he takes a death warp.
I'm thinking that's a death warp there. I like that one.
Yeah,
just get a couple of hearts back quickly.
Once he got hit and lost his hearts, he's like, screw it. I'll take the quick death warp refill.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and this is a point where you've got, if you're Salty Fry, where you've got your pilot telling you that, yeah, you do have some extra time to spare. So take it slow, take it steady. There is, I would say, a considerable gap between the two runners at this point, so.
And yeah, I guess another thing talking about like how great this community is like, because of these spoiler logs, you could see like you have a big difference. But everyone kind of does well keeping the, the BM and no like showboating to show off that you're ahead, which is always good to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, that, I can't imagine that would be well tolerated or well received. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, like, everyone that you're seeing in this Invitational League has been playing this game for a long time. A lot of really solid veteran runners. And even if we don't all know each other on personal levels, like, we've seen each other's names for a long time. And, so, like, we're all here for each other. It's a support system.
Yeah, I only started lurking just before all the in-person conferences got canceled. So hopefully, eventually, I'll get to go to the ones in LA area.
So we got Ice Palace number 3 from Mark. This is going to be the one. Unfortunately, the exact same item loadout. We don't have any safeties. We don't have a stronger sword. Cold Stare is a fight that can just get so out of hand so quickly. Like, you try to get that initial spin to at least keep the puffs together, but if you're off on the timing by that just a little bit, like, that fight goes from moderately controlled to no control at all. It's a lot of sight reading, and I mean, much like this mode in general, like, Cold Stare fight is a very, very difficult fight that you just gotta stay on your toes on. You gotta know how they move and try to just work with it the best you can.
Yeah, you master how the 3 eyes are kind of moving, and then the ice hits you, and you're just like, ah.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of ice, we got that ice head that just would not stay still. Salty Fry taking a moment to make sure that that fire rod shot was going to land.
Yeah, those two heads are like viper snakes being mesmerized by a song for me, and I forget about the third head half the time smacking me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you always got to look for that little tail wag, and then... one more hit? That was nice. I actually... like, generally, I would not recommend doing a fighter sword spin here, but let's break this fight down a little bit. Trinex, the final phase, takes 5 hits with the hammer. A Master Sword spin is equivalent to 1 hit with the hammer, and that double fighter sword spin that Salty Fry got right at the beginning of that phase effectively counted as one of those hammer hits then. So that was actually a really good use of the fighter sword spin.
Yeah, what I always get worried about doing the spin is that you bounce weird, and then that snake head can turn pretty sharp on you, and I've died a few times playing around that.
There's ways to learn that fight and just generally have consistent results. Getting a double spin right away, like with Tempered Sword, and then a third slash quickly while it's still at the bottom of the screen, like that is the ideal. But it's tough. You got to be in the right spot, basically. So we got one puff down on Mark's side.
And yeah, he's taking what I would probably do the super safe strat. I mean, it's the third fight.
Yep, once again, just staying at the top, letting the puffs break apart. Getting charged a little bit by one of the Cold Stare Eyes there. Got another one down. So much more controllable when you have one coming after you instead of 3. Maybe play a little bit more risky. There you go. Way to go, Mark. Now let's head on up to Turtle Rock.
But the one thing I guess some people enjoy and some people don't enjoy is spoiler takes away the key game.
Oh, I don't mind that. we've got the GT big. We're good to go. We needed a sword.
They just grabbed a sword from Staphos room.
Right. We could have played a Where's the Sword game instead.
Yeah. Too slow.
That's fine. There's always next time. Right?
Yeah. I wonder if there's a second one too. Or they just do Master Sword Silvers.
We'll see if something might be upstairs. I don't know. If Tempered is up there, nobody's gonna pass that by. But yeah, no one wants to explore more of the basement to try and find that when this is effectively good enough.
Yeah, I think looking for Tempered Sword in GT is probably the only thing I would do if I did know I was ahead to take the time.
Mm-hmm. And that's all relative to everyone's individual experiences with the game. Like, spoiler log modes, it's not limited, of course, to like the absolute best of the best. Like, anybody can play this mode, of course, and it's a ton of fun. I think playing this mode because of the team and communication aspect of it is one reason to play it. Playing this mode because of the first 25-30 minutes as the pilot is an absolute rush. It is just nonstop. You are in high gear going like 5,000 RPM trying to find stuff. It's fun, but it's intense. Like, there's a lot of good reasons to play this. So
yeah,
if you need to go and find all 4 swords, go find all 4 swords. Have fun doing it.
Yeah, what I like about like co-op or spoilers, it's not only like you getting 2 minds on one game. So like, especially if you're new and you have a veteran pilot, he can like give you tons of tips on the fly, and it's always great to learn while you're doing. Like, I always learn better on the job than reading textbooks.
Sure.
But like the other thing is just like bringing you close together with another person. Like, that was the fun part when I was playing football or any of the sports. Is like just, you know, getting really close with your teammates. It's a game changer.
All about that friendship. Kind of like when you're a new commentator and you wanted to hang out with your buddy and just talk about Zelda for an hour, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was like probably 90% of my reason being here. It was like, I want to talk to DT, Willard, and everyone else about this game.
Well, we got just a little bit more to go here. We see nothing in the mini Helmo room of interest. I don't know what was in those chests. I'm not that curious about it. I just assume it was not a sword. We're opening this. There's a sword, so we got time. There it is. Easy game now. Nothing to worry about. We would have loved to have at least Master Sword for the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, Misty definitely was being rude about that. I wonder if the fourth one is like in Pyramid Fairy or something crazy.
I believe that the one of the pilots in chat mentioned that it was on Green Pendant Saha.
Yeah, no one's doing that.
Nope, sure not. That's just, it's fun for me, like, as a pilot, like, practicing this with Willard, like, to kind of taunt him a little bit, like, when something's in such an awful location, and he asks where it is, and I'm like, no, you're not getting that. And I'm just, like, completely straight-faced about it, and monotone, and I'm just laughing like a kid on the inside, and
well, he's asking like, oh, why?
Right. No, these are so much fun. I can't keep saying that enough. Like, these are such fun modes to watch, to play.
Yeah, if multi-world wasn't a mess half the time, I would enjoy watching that, but it's just like having more people to talk while you play this game is the best.
I mean, that's the other thing that's really enjoyable about League as a whole, right? Is you've got 3 co-op weeks. Playing the game competitively, solo races, yeah, like those are good fun. You know what else is really fun though? Just hanging out in a voice call and having banter for an hour and a half too. Like I'm actually really glad that League takes a solo and co-op approach to the format. It's a really dynamic thing. You get to see a lot of different situations as the weeks go by. It's a great time. It's a really good time.
Yeah, like I said, like half the puzzle to this, or half the piece to the puzzle is the community. So you kind of want your players playing together, not always focused on trying to beat each other. We're getting to the phase 4.
There it is.
Don't need to worry about.
Oh, almost. Yeah, I think you were about to say they don't need to worry about torch glitch, but almost got the slash after lighting both of them. It's good to be able to manipulate that where Ganon stops for you like that, but that will do it for Team Waffle House Drive-Thru.
Yeah.
Salty Fry taking a win here.
Yeah, and it's got to be a good feeling getting that first win. Like when you're in a dry spell, it's just so good.
Looking at the standings, yeah, that is the first win of this league, Season 4 for Waffle House Drive-Thru, so GG's to them.
Pretty clean fight for Mark.
Takes Trinex down. Then should be just a quick GT climb with a stop in the stop loss room for Magnificent as well. Grab Master Sword. I assume we're going to see Tempered.
Oh, I see a pause. It might be a forfeit.
And yep, that's the other alternative.
Well,
so GG's to Magnificent as well. Great perseverance trying to head through Ice Palace, going through 3 times. Very difficult fight situation. But just kept on moving along, and a very, very solid GG for Magnificent and Team NewSwagaJackson as well.
Yeah, great run on both sides. Even with those deaths, you caught up pretty quickly. Like, I would probably be like 30 minutes behind after those 3 deaths.
Well, we are joined right here in the booth by Magnificent. Hey there, how you doing? GG.
Hey, what's going on, GG?
And Salty Fry has also stomped on in. So GG to you both. Spoiler races are always a ton of fun. They're always stressful, and they're difficult more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. This one was definitely a lot more on the difficult side than a lot of the ones I've done for sure. But yeah. The safeties on this one were nowhere to be found, and you're on fighter sword the entire time.
Yeah. Which one was Green Pendant? Because I was trying to figure out, like, was it Hera?
No, it was Thieves Town.
It was Thieves Town. Okay, so that we were just never gonna get that. Okay, that sword. Because wasn't there a sword on? I think there was a sword on Saha.
Yeah.
On Green Pendant. So yeah, there was that. We weren't gonna get that, and maybe I should have thought of doing that. That sword. Yeah, those deaths really it took a toll on me. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess like what goes through your mind with a low percentage seed like this? Like, do you focus on getting hearts, armor, or just get what you get and just pray your execution's good?
Yeah, I mean the praying part is always gonna be a part of it. No matter what, I think we had talked beforehand, like what I was comfortable with as far as like safeties, and when I was like, yeah, I'd like to get at least 7 or 8 hearts, at least tempered, and maybe a mail upgrade. And like that was pretty much what we had agreed on, and he was telling me right away that the 2 upgraded swords were GT, and that there was one on Saha, and that probably weren't going to get those, and we were just going to be stuck with the just a fighter sword, cold stare. But it did help out that I had that bombos. It helped me out a little bit, but
yeah, definitely made really good use of hanging out at the top wall, just not letting the ice chunks hit you, and held on as long as he could. I don't envy that fight, even whether it's 8 hearts or 12 hearts. Fighter sword cold stare with an unreliable hammer is never enjoyable, but you managed to keep going back and pulled it off.
Yeah, I had to get that one. That was the real victory for us. was getting that cold stare kill. So we're proud of that.
Yeah, normally I'm a lot more aggressive with the hammer on that fight, but this situation I just totally felt like I couldn't do that. I'm like, all right, we're gonna start spinning with the fighter sword, even if this takes forever. I couldn't risk dying in that spot, so yeah, instead of using the hammer like I normally would and being pretty aggressive, it's just playing as safe as possible, and I managed to pull it off. It was definitely really stressful for that last while there. Like after I took the hit from the puff, like I had enough for that one hit, and then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, take a hit from anything now, it's over, don't do it.
Yeah, that's what it looked like from us. It's like, yeah, I got my hammer, I got you guys, and then you get hit once, like, all right, I'm poking you with this long sword, stay away from me, don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost thought I had it that first time. I just got hit by that ice chunk. It seemed like an accident to me. But I guess I was too close to that ice chunk. I was at the top wall and I just got hit while I was up there.
It's generally a safe place to stand, but every now and then, like you shift a pixel here or there, and then suddenly it's not as safe. It's interesting how it works.
Yep. Yeah, but other than that, I mean. The mirror, obviously, in a bad location too. We kept talking about how this seed would have been bad if it wasn't like a spoiler or a pilot or a co-op. Even it just would have been like that mirror to find there is also quite funny as well.
Yeah, we saw that. I'm assuming just a little flip in communication, heading with the purple chest in the Dark World still.
I picked up the purple chest and I asked him, I was like, should we save and quit? Like, would it be faster? He's like, you need the portal. I'm like, yeah, we'll need the portal. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have the mirror, so we couldn't even create the portal. So it was that was quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, everything in these seeds, especially like at that point, I think we were still talking within the first 15 to 20 minutes. Like everything is just so fast paced. It's I would even say impossible at times to really think about every single scenario, and every single decision that gets made from any runner has an impact on how the race winds up. But that's part of the excitement of this mode, I think.
Yeah, I actually think I used to run this mode with Kern, and I found it quite a lot more calm with wall kicks. Actually, it was a little bit more calm on our end. He seemed to have everything be in the driver's seat, and knew exactly everything that we needed, and was very calm. It wasn't as stressful, like not a lot of flipping through and finding stuff. Or I don't know how it was on his end, but it seemed calm on my end. He was a great
Oh, that's
coach to
good.
me. Like along with finding the items, he was also a great coach.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about most of the race. Like communication is like super key in this, and like keeping each other calm, or like always having something to do while the other person is regrouping. So you're not always at each other trying to figure out the next move.
Yeah. I was kind of running this like a co-op. I didn't realize he was like watching my stream so intently, or at least I was forgetting that he was doing that, because I know in co-op you are constantly talking about what you're doing, like every single like little thing you're doing. I'm like, oh, I'm picking up this pot in so and so house, so that that your co-op or your partner just knows where you're going and where you're at. So I kind of was doing that even though he could see me. But obviously when he is watching me, he's kind of on a delay anyway, just a slight delay. So yeah, but communication is key.
I do have one question for Salty Fry and your pilot. The decision to pick up all 4 Turtle Rock Smalls, was that to allow you to skip the Pokey Key?
That was because we actually overlooked at a point that we were going to get one off Cold Stare, so we thought we actually needed the one from Pod. Although, in the end, looking back at it, it's probably pretty close for the whole bomb jumping over to get the one from the big chest in Pod instead of going to skip the one from the Pokey. Because going to get that Pokey one is not an insignificant amount of time. Like, that's a
No,
good
it's
40 or 45 seconds to go get that. So if you can get that relatively quickly, it's probably worth your while. In this situation, it's probably more or less a push, I'd say. Like, I think it probably took me about 40 or 45 seconds to probably go get that key from the big chest in the end. So yeah, it was probably roughly the same thing, right?
Okay,
So if it's that situation, it just happened to work out for us. Like, it wasn't intended by any means. But yeah, in this situation, it just happened to work out pretty well, I'd say.
Well, I will say, it's always interesting to me to see how these seeds play out, and there can be route divergences between teams and how you piece things together. It seemed like this one kind of wanted you to take a more similar approach, though, and so both of you had, aside from like super minor things, like you got the hook shot in a slightly different order, but everything pretty much lined up with the routing between both teams on this one.
Yeah, the other thing they did differently was the lamp fire rod grouping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys grouped the okay. That makes sense. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and that's one of those things even where you get the flippers early, you see the lamps on Hobo, it's like, well, just go get it. We can get it now. And like, you don't always necessarily, the hindsight comes in later, right? Where you think, oh, well, maybe we could have done it that way, but we did it that way and it worked out fine anyway, so who cares, right?
Well, I don't know if I should actually throw Demo under the bus on this one. He had actually overlooked that the lamp was on Hobo, so he didn't even realize it at the very beginning, and realized it later on, and we were just conveniently like, oh, we can just do it right now, is kind of what ended up happening. So, as much as I'd love to say that we planned that, that was not what happened there, unfortunately.
Well, between
but
that,
it just happened to work. It happened to work out very, very well. I will say that.
Between that and the TR small key, it sounds like two really nice things that weren't necessarily intended then.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's like things like that happen in this. Like, obviously, like at the very beginning there, I didn't have magic going to try to do magic bad. That's kind of one of those things that's extremely easy to overlook in this type of race. Like, that's not the first time something like that's happened to me in a race like this. So it's just one of those things. Those little things at the very beginning, you just completely forget about them sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable.
Yeah, we did the same thing too. With Magic, we're like trying to scramble and figure out. It's like, yeah, let's just go to Uncle. Go to where you fall down, get the boost, get the pops there. That's kind of what we did. Get Magic.
Yeah, I ended up running to the rupee crab only because I remember Demo saying that he was tossing around Magic, so I went and got it from him in the end. But either way, it was pretty much the same thing, going to the rupee crab or going to Uncle. But yeah, but either way, you needed a little bit, one way or another.
Yeah, I think Wall Kicks, he had told me as I was going to Uncle, I was like, yeah, the Ruby Crab's got Magic. I'm like, well, I'm already here, I might as well just get it here. So yeah, those things that you kind of overlook for sure.
Well, how about was this game 1 or game 2 between your teams for this week?
This was
game one.
Game 1. Do you guys have Game 2 lined up already?
I think it is. I don't specifically remember when it is. It's Matt
I think it
against
is.
Walter, or I don't know if they scheduled it or not. I think it's going to be on the weekend, if I recall correctly.
Cool.
Yes,
We
I think
will
it's weekend. Yeah.
look forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. This was a great race to be my first commentary on, and it's awesome to see you guys play so well.
Oh, awesome! Congratulations.
I'm not sure that I've got much more to add as well. We've had a good conversation about this, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Magnificent, Salty Fry, GG's. If there's anything else to add, by all means, the floor is yours for a moment.
Yeah, GG. Thanks for the race, GG. Best of luck in the rest of the tournament, and thanks SpeedGaming for hosting. Thank you guys for commentating, trackers, everyone involved.
It has been our pleasure.
Yeah, I'll second pretty much most of what he said. Thanks a lot to everyone. And it feels great to finally get our team a win in this, because we were 0-6 coming into this, so getting a win feels good finally.
Yes, congratulations on that. And cannot overlook, of course, the pilots for today's race as well. We got Demolisher and Wall Kicks. They deserve GG's as well. Absolutely half of each team for this race. Very important part. These runners would not have completed the seed without the pilot. No, that's not true. They would have found everything. Eventually, it would have taken longer. The pilot was essential in making it shorter. So GG's all around to all 4 of you. Arteril, thank you again for tracking. You kept it honest and up to date, and we didn't have to guess who had what. Dihan, thank you for commentating with me. I hope that you've enjoyed your first commentary, and welcome to commentary.
Yeah, thank everyone around too. Thank you, DT, for helping me get through this. It was pretty smooth and fun. Art, yeah, lovely that I didn't have to worry about items and guessing. And then, thank you to the runners for giving us the entertainment. It was a lot of fun to watch.
There was. Let me actually take a quick look at the schedule, because I thought I heard there was a super late race at some point, but that might have been for League. Or I'm sorry, for SG Live instead of League. I do not have that schedule handy. So it does look like there are more League matches right this moment. SpeedGaming 1 has Warpjig versus GFE. SpeedGaming 4... Well, actually, being that it's all spoilers starting at the same time, those races might be over too. So you know what? Go ahead and ignore the rest of that. Check them out, though. Maybe they're still going. But have a good night. SpeedGaming 5. Take care. And until next time, enjoy the rando.
Good night.
Night.